If you drive an automatic car, there is a good chance you are making at least one of the mistakes in this video right now, without knowing it. These are not obscure mechanical edge cases. They are everyday driving habits that millions of automatic car owners repeat every single day. Habits that silently damage the most expensive components in the vehicle, and habits that dealers and manufacturers have very little financial incentive to warn you about. Because when your transmission fails at 80,000 miles instead of 200,000 miles, that is a $3,000 to $5,000 repair that goes directly into a service department's revenue. In this video, we are covering the things you should never do in an automatic car, and more importantly, exactly why each one causes the damage it does. Mistake number 1, coasting in neutral. This is one of the most widespread myths in automatic car ownership. Drivers put the car in neutral while rolling to a stop or descending a hill because they believe it saves fuel. It does not save fuel in a modern automatic car, and it causes real damage. Here is the fuel myth first. Modern vehicles use fuel injection systems that cut fuel delivery entirely when the car is in drive and your foot is off the accelerator. This is called overrun fuel cutoff. When you coast in drive with your foot off the gas, the engine is being turned by the wheels and uses zero fuel. When you shift to neutral, the engine has to idle independently to stay running, which actually uses more fuel than coasting in drive, not less. Now the damage. Your automatic transmission's lubrication system operates at rates controlled by engine speed and transmission engagement. When you coast in neutral, the transmission's lubrication and cooling are reduced. And when the light turns green and you shift back into drive, you create a speed differential between the transmission's internal components that produces wear on the clutch packs and planetary gear sets. Doing this repeatedly over thousands of miles accelerates internal transmission wear significantly faster than simply leaving the car in drive. The correct method for every situation where you want to slow down in an automatic car is to leave the selector in drive and use your brakes. That is what the brakes are designed for. Mistake number 2, shifting from drive to reverse before the car has completely stopped. We have all done this. You are backing out of a parking space, you start rolling forward slightly, and you throw it into reverse before the car has come to a full stop. Or you reverse out and drop it into drive before the backward motion has fully ended. Both of these actions use your transmission as a braking mechanism, and your transmission was never designed to stop the car. That is the exclusive job of the brakes. What happens mechanically when you shift from drive to reverse while still moving forward is this. The transmission bands and clutch packs that engage the reverse gear are forced to absorb the momentum of the entire vehicle and bring the drivetrain to a stop. Every time you do this, those bands take where that is equivalent to an emergency stop applied through the transmission rather than the brakes. The transmission bands are difficult to access and expensive to replace. On many automatic transmissions, band replacement requires removing the transmission entirely from the vehicle, a labor job that starts at $800 and climbs significantly depending on the vehicle. The rule is simple and non-negotiable. Foot on the brake, full stop, then shift, every single time. Mistake number 3, putting the car in park without using the parking brake. This one surprises people because it feels like park should be enough. On flat ground it usually is. But here is what most drivers do not understand about what park actually does. Selecting park engages what is called the parking pawl, a small metal pin that locks the output shaft of the transmission to prevent the vehicle from rolling. That parking pawl is designed to hold a stationary vehicle in place on a slight incline. It is not designed to hold the full weight of the vehicle on a steep grade. When you park on a hill without the parking brake engaged, gravity pushes the entire mass of the car against that small metal pawl. Over time, the pawl bends and weakens. If another vehicle strikes your parked car while the parking brake is not engaged and the pawl is under load, the pawl can shear completely, sending metal fragments through your transmission and causing catastrophic internal damage. The parking brake distributes that load to the rear brakes, completely removing stress from the parking pawl. The correct sequence on any incline is brake pedal held down, parking brake engaged, then shift to park. Reverse the sequence when leaving, select drive, release parking brake, release brake pedal. This costs you 5 extra seconds and eliminates all stress on the parking pawl entirely. Mistake number 4, launching the car by revving in neutral and dropping into drive. This is a habit that some drivers pick up from watching racing content. Rev the engine in neutral to build RPM, then drop the selector into drive to launch hard. On an automatic car, this is one of the fastest ways to destroy the transmission's friction clutch packs. Here is exactly what happens. When you drop from neutral into drive at elevated RPM, the clutch packs that engage the drive gear are forced to absorb the full rotational energy of the engine spinning at high speed and translate it instantly into forward motion. The friction material on those clutch packs is designed to engage smoothly from a standing start, not to arrest a high RPM free-spinning drivetrain. Every time you do this, you burn a layer of friction material off the clutch packs. The smoke you sometimes see and smell during hard launches is that friction material burning. Once the clutch pack material is gone, the clutch slips rather than engages, and a slipping transmission is one service visit away from a complete rebuild. On a modern 8 or 10-speed automatic like the 10 or 80 found in Ford F-150s and Mustangs, a complete transmission rebuild starts at $3,500. Mistake number 5. Keeping the car in drive while sitting for extended periods. This one gets missed because nothing immediately feels wrong. You pull up to pick someone up, you leave it in drive with your foot on the brake, and you sit for 5 to 15 minutes. During that entire time, the torque converter inside your automatic transmission is under load, working against the brakes and generating heat. Your transmission fluid is the medium through which the torque converter operates and the fluid that keeps every internal component lubricated and cooled. Heat is the primary enemy of transmission fluid. At normal operating temperature, transmission fluid lasts tens of thousands of miles. Every time you subject the fluid to extended idle heat loading, sitting in drive with the brakes applied, you accelerate the breakdown of the fluid's viscosity and friction modifier chemistry. Degraded transmission fluid causes accelerated wear on every component it lubricates. If you know you will be stationary for more than 60 seconds, waiting for someone, stuck at a long light, sitting in traffic, shift to neutral or park. It removes the torque converter load entirely and stops the heat buildup in the fluid. Mistake number 6. Ignoring the transmission temperature warning. On trucks and SUVs equipped with a transmission temperature gauge or warning light, the gauge is there for a reason. Towing a heavy load, climbing a long grade in hot weather, or sitting in traffic for extended periods can push transmission fluid temperature beyond its safe operating range. When the temperature warning triggers, most drivers ignore it and keep driving. The correct response is to pull over safely, shift to neutral, and let the transmission cool for 10 to 15 minutes before resuming. Continuing to drive with an overheating transmission degrades the fluid rapidly, damages the clutch pack friction material, and in severe cases can warp the aluminum valve body, a component that costs $900 to $2,000 to replace on modern automatic transmissions. Most modern trucks have a transmission cooler built into the radiator and an auxiliary cooler option specifically because manufacturers know that towing and extended hot weather operation generate dangerous heat levels. If your truck does not have an auxiliary transmission cooler and you tow regularly, adding one is one of the best investments you can make in the long-term health of the transmission. Mistake number 7. Never checking the transmission fluid between services. Engine oil gets checked regularly because the dipstick is visible and familiar. Transmission fluid is a different story. Many modern vehicles have sealed transmissions with no dipstick and no easy checkpoint. And even on vehicles where the fluid is checkable, most drivers never touch it between service intervals. Transmission fluid has two enemies, heat and contamination. Both cause the fluid to darken, lose viscosity, and lose its friction modifier protection. Degraded fluid is dark brown or black and smells burnt. Healthy fluid is red or pink and smells clean. If your transmission has a dipstick, pull it at every oil change and check both the level and the color. If the fluid is dark or smells burnt, do not wait for the scheduled service. Change it immediately. A $100 transmission service done early is not a waste of money. It is insurance against the $4,000 repair that comes from running degraded fluid through precision aluminum components for an extra 20,000 miles. These 7 mistakes are not exotic edge cases. They are the everyday habits of the majority of automatic car owners. The transmission in your car is the second most expensive component after the engine. Treating it correctly costs you nothing except a small amount of attention. The alternative is a repair bill that ends the useful life of vehicles that should have had another 100,000 miles in them. If this video changed how you drive your automatic car starting today, hit like and subscribe. Real information, no filter. See you in the next one.